Who knows what Jay-Z, J.K. Rowling, Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey all have in common? Okay, I will tell you then. They have all overcome failure in one shape or form to go on to gain success in their respective careers. Welcome to My Perfect Failure. Join us as we delve into the world of our perfect failures. We will interview, explore, and discuss how our perfect failures can lead us to success. Join us and tune in.
Welcome everybody to another episode of My Perfect Failure. Today, I'm super excited as I have another fantastic guest for you. So my guest today is an entrepreneur, social influencer, podcast host, speaker, and reality TV star, best known for her role as a castmate on the breakout hit Netflix show Love is Blind. Audiences across the globe fell in love with her genuine personality, unwavering confidence, and her commitment to staying true to who she is. She is the founder of the coaching program Goddess Magic, which combines business strategy and mindset coaching to help women act like the person they desire to be, to improve their confidence and master their self-worth. She's also the host of the podcast Chase Life with Kelly. So a bit of a clue to who she is. So a very warm welcome to My Perfect Failure, Kelly Chase. How are you, Kelly?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm excited. I'm speaking to a Netflix star. So it's my first time that I've spoken to somebody that I can watch on TV, watch on Netflix. So yeah, so all good. And how are
Yeah,
you?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for taking the time to allow me to share my story and, just create some impact.
No, I'm excited to meet you, and I've researched you a little bit. Don't know everything about you. So initially, what struck me, particularly today, when the world is such a place where transparency and authenticity probably isn't the go-to area that people go to because so much pressure on looking perfect, looking like we've just stepped out of a Chanel advert, or we've just, there's a lot of pressure for everybody to appear that we're $1 million, particularly when we think about social media and everything. So what I have researched about you, and again, I don't know everything. You're very honest. You're very transparent. You're very, you're very, you display your vulnerability, which kind of goes against the grain, particularly, for what I've mentioned. How have you managed to, I guess, operate at that level?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I feel like as far as like the vulnerability piece and just being so transparent and there are times, I show up with no makeup on and like, not very put together, quote
Mm.
unquote. I just feel like it just I'm too busy to be like, oh wait, no, I need to like stop and go put makeup on or change my outfit or something in order to create content. Like I'd rather like I get these, I think something and I want to just talk about it. Or I'm in the moment about something and I just, like I said, I just want to share it in the real time. So I think that's where a lot of the like me being able to be vulnerable and stuff, it's because it's just happening. Like
Yeah.
it's not like I'm curating it. Granted, yes, have there been times where, yep, I do exactly what I just said I, don't have time for, because I'm like, maybe, aesthetics, people are drawn to that, people do like their eyes go
Mm.
to things that are more aesthetically appealing. So yeah, there are times when I'll maybe go change an outfit or put some makeup on, but I'm like, okay, keep this thought. And maybe I'll write the thought down like in my notes so that
Mm.
I am like, okay, I need to come back to this later and actually do like a conversation on this, or I work a lot. So maybe it's like during the day when I'm driving around and I'm like, oh my God, I really want to like share this with my audience. But then it's funny because like at the end of the day, when I get home from work, I'm tired. And all I want
Yeah.
to do is put my lounge clothes on, take off my makeup. And at that point, like I think to do that first versus sharing the story first. So
Yeah.
now I'm
Yeah.
like in like no makeup and everything. And I'm like, all right, whatever, I'm just gonna do it. And I think, it's more relatable to people. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I will say this. I feel like I have been vulnerable for a long time. I definitely can have more evolved and deeper conversations with people, but it was back in like 2015. I had gone through like a weight challenging journey, and I decided as I'm going through this struggle to like share about it online. And I was health coaching, like strictly health coaching at the time. And so I felt very much like an imposter because I'm like, okay, obviously I just gained like 30 pounds. Like, who am I to like coach anyone on their health right now? But I just, I felt like I needed to share my personal story. Like, this is what I've been going through. And it had such a beautiful response to it. Like, and so many people were like, now you actually understand what we're going through. So I want to say that was like my first time that I was extremely just putting myself out there, that was very intentional about putting myself out there. I didn't know what kind of response I was going to get, but it was very impactful and very humbling at the same time. And I don't know, just like since then, like I said, I feel like I like following people who are wearing no makeup and they're just sharing their stuff. So I feel like, not to say I'm like influenced by them, but I'm like, hey, you know what? They can do it. I can do it too. It's not scary. And I feel like I said, it's more relatable to people when you're just you and you're just showing up in the moment.
Yeah, no, totally. As you were talking, I was actually thinking, I think it's possibly harder to be our authentic selves today and put it out there because of the pressure to, I think you will probably get into this a little bit because I think there's areas where you potentially coach people and areas that you transition from, but because of limiting beliefs, because of maybe self-worth, we judge ourselves against the created content that's out there that the majority, not everybody, but certainly there's a large proportion of people push. So to be ourselves where we know that potentially people are going to have opinions about, particularly if we're putting out curated stuff, if they don't like it, it's not me anyway, who cares? But when it's actually is me, it's kind of like if they critique it, it's like actually they're critiquing me, not something that I've made up.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. I feel like when you put something out there and you're sharing your heart and your soul into it, and then you get pushback, criticism, it feels like it's an attack of your character, like her. And yes, that is where like the whole like mindset stuff and just self-worth really comes into play. I mean, I will full honesty, like it is something I continue to struggle with
Mm,
myself. Like, yes, do I show it with no makeup? Do I share very vulnerable things? Absolutely. But I know that I'm putting myself in a playground for people
yeah.
to criticize me and everything. But I think ever since the show aired in 2020, it has been quite a challenge for me
Mm,
to show up and not take offense or just feel some type of like shame or guilt or something, or like I'm not enough when I get feedback from people. And granted, it could be something like, I mean, every time a new season of Love is Blind airs, I get one message because people like as soon as that new season ends, it flips them back to the very beginning so
yeah,
they
because you're the start of it. You
yeah, so
guys,
they can watch our
yeah,
season. So I'll get like every once in a while, I'll get like a message. And granted, now I'm like over it, but the first few seasons that came out, so the first 2 years, I guess, after our season aired, I would receive messages still like, oh, he dodged a bullet with you. And not that that's mean, but it's a very much an attack on my character in the sense of like, I'm an awesome person. Like,
mm,
no, like no one dodged a bullet. We chose different paths. Like,
mm,
so it was constantly me trying to defend. I felt like I was constantly trying to defend myself and defend my worth and how, no, I'm actually a very likable person.
mm,
And like, I mean, if you have a problem, like obviously these people didn't know me. There's keyboard warriors out there, but it has definitely, I want to say, like been quite a traumatic experience. And every time that I mean, honestly, every time I go to post something, there is that little fear mongrel in my head that's like, I
mm.
don't know, is this going to be what your audience wants? Is this exactly what, is going to speak to people? Is this going to get enough likes? Is this going to get enough,
Yeah,
traffic and all that stuff? And granted, I know the algorithm has so much to do with, the visibility of people's posts, but it's something that crosses my mind on a daily basis. And I, even just probably over the last 6 months, I've been like, Kelly, like because I want to say, although yes, I've created content for years and years and pushed through all of that, I know at the end of the day that I'm not fully in my power, and I haven't been fully in, like, I'll have like private coaching calls where I'm talking with friends or new people that I meet, and I feel so confident in myself. But then online, sometimes I get this like fear, and I'm like, oh gosh, like I don't know how to show up right now. But I want to exude that confidence across to my social media. And maybe, I mean, granted, I've had conversations about it, and people are like, Kelly, like that is all in your head because you seem very confident, you know exactly what you're doing. Like, I don't see anything weird about you. So it's definitely like your own self-image. And I just have had to, over the last few years, just really work on my self-image and not think how I think other people think of me.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be confusing, and I imagine that it's incredibly difficult, particularly when you are famous, particularly when you've been on Netflix, mammoth in terms of a TV network, a mammoth in terms of a TV show. So people do know you, and I don't think, regardless of who you are, regardless of male, female, personality, there's always going to be people, sadly, that will choose to take a position, choose to be keyboard warriors, and will choose to send things that aren't nice. And that's because that's what they do. It's because they've got nothing better to do. Maybe, their lives aren't where they want them to be. So particularly if you see somebody who they feel that is on the rise or has done something significant, if I can take pot shots at them, then it kind of gives them, they view that as some sort of success in some sort of way. But I'm not a psychologist, so I can't understand why they would do that, but people do things for certain reasons. Can I ask you about when you got the call to say that Netflix want you on a show? What was the adrenaline rush? Well, I say not been adrenaline rush. What was your overriding emotion when that happened, when you got the call?
Yeah, so they called, so the casting company called me, and I never answer random numbers, but I just happened to that day, and they're like, hey, it's so and so from Kinetic Casting. We have this show concept. Are you still single? And it was,
Message somebody to say, look, it's
yeah,
over. We have to
yeah.
pull up.
Oh my God, it was so funny. So I'm like, yeah, I'm single. And yeah, I mean, they pitched the show concept to me. I thought it was really, really intriguing of a show concept because they're like, you're basically going to be doing blind dating. I heard them say, there's, if you match with someone, you can get engaged and then there would be like a wedding. But I didn't think that I would connect with someone. So I was like, but this would be like a really neat, almost like just an experience or experiment. And that's exactly what they called it. They were like, this is an experiment. It is a social experiment. We want to see if this type of idea works, sight unseen, actually falling in love with someone. And anyways, so there was a part of me that was extremely like just intrigued and jazzed up about that and being able to like see like, hey, I can connect with someone sight unseen, only through their personality, emotional connection, that kind of thing. And then there was the flip side of there being like a little bit of ego in there because I just remembered my friends always being like, Kelly, I feel like you just like go after these guys who, yeah, they're good looking, but they don't treat you really nicely. And so I wanted to, there was almost like this like proving, like, oh, well, let me do this to prove them that I can connect with someone without even seeing what they look like. So it was, but altogether, I mean, it was just like an exciting, I was like, yeah, sure. And I wasn't working like a full-time job at the time. So I could just kind of like pick up and go and film. So it was great. I loved it.
And you knew it was going to be on Netflix at the time.
We knew that it was pitched to Netflix. It had not been picked up though.
Okay,
Right.
okay, okay. So you got pitched the idea, great idea, time wise, all good for you, had the time to do it, and then all of a sudden, I guess it grows because Netflix end up picking it up, and then at that point you realize actually this is going to be bigger than I ever thought it would be because it's because of the platform that Netflix has.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. Like when they
Okay.
said, when they were like, yeah, it's going to be airing on Netflix, blah, blah, blah. My mind didn't even go there. It was just like, cool. Like, that's awesome. Can't wait to see the show because we didn't get to see like a preview of the show before the
Okay.
world. We saw the show when everyone else did. So I didn't even I don't think any of us assumed that the show would be as big as it was. I think we all kind of had a little PTSD from
Yeah.
that.
So I mentioned before we hit the record button, I'm not hugely familiar with the show. So definitely know the name. Everybody knows the name. Majority of people have watched it. So what's the concept? So you go on the show ultimately to find love. That's the ultimate goal. But what's the mechanics in terms of how that happens? Are you matched with somebody, or does that happen organically, or how does that work?
Yeah. So no, it's all organically, but we start out with 15 women and 15 men. We're separated, can't see them. And we go into rooms, which we call the pods, and we talk, like we're mic'd up, obviously, in their speaker, so we can hear the other side, and we're talking through a wall.
Okay.
Basically, there's a wall divider,
Mm.
and we're just getting to know them. But so it was like speed dating. So like
Yeah.
those 15 dates became two at the end of the time. Because as much as the more that we connect with someone, obviously, then we would go to like a next round with that person or the people that we were connecting most with, and then keep going. And the time. So like when we dated all 15 people, we had, I think, 7 minutes with each person the first day. And then like the next day, we may have had like 20 minutes. And then the next day it was 35 minutes. And the next day, close to an hour, things like that. So, and there were some days that it was, we would have one date with them like in the afternoon and then like a night date with them as well. So something at like midnight, but of course we're going back to the pods. It's not like we're like going out to dinner or anything
Yeah.
like that, so, but yeah, so I mean, that was it. We did the pod dating, the speed dating for 7 or 8 days. And then we were making our connections or not. We got proposed to through the wall, so still sight unseen. And you say yes or no through the wall, and then the next day they do a big reveal, and you actually get to see the person. And they put a ring on your finger, and then we go to
Really?
Mexico.
Wow.
Yeah, then we start living with each other and get back to like the normal world and see if we can hold up in the world, basically.
Okay. So ultimately you will be proposed to if you find a connection, and then the process is to see whether the relationship is meant to be ultimately.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of pressure.
It is, yeah, because we
Huge
filmed,
amounts of pressure.
it's huge amounts of pressure. And, we were talking about things that, I mean, I would say probably a lot of couples don't talk about one or don't talk about until later on, 6 months after dating,
Mm.
something like that. And this was in 7 weeks.
Wow. I'm just thinking about the mental capacity to try and cram everything that you've said, that you should cram into something that would take typically a number of years. It could be two, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be five, it could be 10 years to process all that in to make sure you've covered everything.
Right.
And then we say, okay, yes, either it works or it doesn't. But to do that on TV and in this really condensed period of time, mentally, I think I'd be all over the place.
Yeah, I was.
I would just be like, what's going on? It was a bit surreal.
Yeah, it was very surreal. I mean, just during filming, I just remember them, when I was doing like my one-off, like individual one-on-one interviews with production, oh, how are you feeling about the guy that you're matching with? How are you feeling about everything? And I just kept saying like my head and my heart are not connecting. My head and my heart are not connecting. And it's
Yeah,
because
okay.
I'm like, I just met this man like 8 days ago.
Mm,
My mind is like, what is going on?
mm,
I mean, I definitely liked him, and I was starting to like, I was loving the man that I was getting to know, but I
mm.
wasn't in love with him
Yeah,
during that short stint of time.
yeah. And also, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit of a cynic. 'Cause I'm thinking, can you love somebody in such people? So everyone's different, I guess. But I'm thinking, how can you? I've got multiple questions in my head. I'm struggling to say which one should I say for. Okay, so the one I think I'll go with is as a castmate on the program. I guess you can only speak for you. Is there a pressure to kind of think, well, everybody wants to see a marriage. Everybody watching, the whole concept is that you see whether this can work, but the majority of people want to see a marriage. Do I go along with it? Am I a bit of a killjoy if I kind of maybe say, well, we've got along great and I do like him, but marriage is a big thing. But because I'm on the program, maybe I should just go along with it. Do you feel any type of pressure in that way?
No, I honestly I did not. Yeah, I think Kenny was his name, the guy that I connected with,
Mhm.
and I feel like we were on the same page about a lot of
Yeah.
things. So no, I mean, if anything, yes, it was like production that I felt pressure from, but it
Mhm.
wasn't like we need y'all to get married. It was,
Mhm.
tell me why you would or would not get married to him. And when I kept saying, like, they were reiterating, like, he's checking off all the boxes, your families get along, like he's successful, he's a nice guy, blah blah blah, like literally checking off every box. And they're like, why wouldn't you marry him? And I'm like,
Okay.
I don't know. And then I finally, like, they broke me one day and I was like, I guess I'm just not in love with him. And they took
Right.
their clipboards and like threw them down on the ground and they were like, that's all we needed to hear. And that was it. And I was like, okay. And they're like, we're done with it. Today's interview. That's literally all we needed to hear from you. And I was like, okay.
Okay.
But it was a pressure cooker in that regard because
Yeah.
not to say like they're not interrogating you in the sense of like flashlight over your face or anything. It's just they're asking questions to get the truth out of
Mm.
you. And that was it. Like I'm not in love with them. I remember I just blurted it out, I'm not in love with him. And they were
Mm.
like, okay, that's all we needed. I'm like, they were like, I was like, so had I said that 2 weeks ago, like, would you guys have like eased up off this whole time? But I mean, like I said, it's like, again, like with your question though, like I didn't feel that pressure also because I think there was so much going on in my head. I wasn't thinking about, oh, well, like the TV, like I didn't even think
Okay, so you don't think about
it was almost like I
that.
didn't
Okay.
even think that the show was going to air. Like it was happening in so real time that I wasn't even thinking that, oh, well, when this airs, people are going to like hate me because I didn't marry this man.
Okay.
It wasn't even a thought.
Okay. So, because I tend to think, I've not been in that scenario or been on TV, so I always assume that the cameras are there and you're thinking, but you pretty much you can. There is a sense that there is some degree of normality where you can maybe process and think
Yeah.
independently of cameras.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The cameras are not on you 24/7.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Cool. So, okay. So ultimately, you and Kenny decided that you weren't married wasn't the way to go. So that sort of ended. And you leave, the program ends and you go and you pursue, and you're doing that now, you're doing wonderful things now. But what's the immediate, like mentally, I'm thinking about when you leave such a, I guess, an intense environment that I guess has dominated your life for, I guess, I don't know how many weeks, but I guess it's dominated your life where you're in that scenario, you and Kenny, and you with the other contestants as well. And it's all been focused on relationships and hopefully getting married. What's it like afterwards when you've got to go back into, I guess, your life, your normal life, and you've got to totally not maybe I may be putting words into your mouth here, but maybe you kind of almost forget about that. They're not there anymore. The cameras aren't there, and Kenny's not there, and the other contestants aren't there, and you're not getting these constant questions about marriage and stuff. And you I guess you're there, you're left to your own devices. What's that like?
like when the filming was completely done and over,
Yeah,
it was hard.
from a mental perspective.
Yeah, it was very hard. The biggest thing for me, I mean, yeah, it's like we're in this pressure cooker for 7 weeks and then all of a sudden it's gone. Like even the friends that I made through production, like nobody's there. And even I think like I said, I think all of us kind of had this like, what just happened?
Yeah,
Um, feeling. So it's not like we were even leaning on each other after filming. So it felt very isolating. And obviously I mean, my like friends and family were very, supportive with me and everything, but it's like they don't understand what we just went
mm,
through. So yeah, I would say it was very isolating. I felt very I was hurt too because Kenny and I had talked about dating. If we were not getting married, we were going to continue dating after the show or after filming. And he decided against that pretty last minute. And so I felt like I had a broken heart. I realized, I mean, I started working, I was definitely like down in the dumps for a handful of
Yeah.
weeks. But then I started working with a mindset coach myself on a personal level, and she asked me this question, and I'll never forget it, but she said something like, are you like, is the pain coming from like, were you in love with, is the pain coming from the fact that you're in love with him, or is the pain coming from the rejection of? And I was like, whoa. And like, I just had to sit with that question. And I was like, the rejection. It's the rejection. I was like, I'm bummed. Like, I'm so hurt because it's like, oh, another situation. I just like poured every life secret to this man, and
Yeah.
he doesn't want to date me. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why am I not enough? You know, at the end of the day, it's like, so your worthiness just,
It's a great question she asked you.
yeah,
Great
yeah.
question. Because I think that happens a lot, I think, in relationships, not in all, but I think in some, where sometimes when it ends, sometimes relationships they end because they should end, but sometimes, not all the time, but invariably there'd be one partner that just says, like, one of the couple will say, look, I think it should end. And I think that deep down, I think probably we both know that it should end because there may be signs, and the rejection is quite powerful. Is well, it's overwhelming. It can be. So when we have to deal with the rejection, where we tough, but we sometimes we can't process that. So it's great that you had a great coach or mindset coach who was able to get you to think and actually process it, and then you've got, I guess, a handle on rejection, and I guess how I hopefully it gives us the tool to be able to recognize it and then deal with it because it's going to come up again in different parts of our lives.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely. And you know, and I still, I mean, I think that that's like a quote unquote like deep rooted wound of mine, and I'm
Mm.
sure many people, but you know, like I even think back to like preschool. I mean, my like first story of feeling rejected was a girl in preschool telling me I couldn't play with her and the other girls at school. So it's like I think, you know, our body keeps score of these little traumas and big traumas, and I think that that was kind of it. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm being rejected again. Like, why don't people want to be with me? Why don't people want to hang out with me? And I, granted, I have a lot of friends. Like, I'm
Mm.
like, I don't have any problem in the social space, but you know, it's like we worked through that after filming, and then, like I said, the show airs, and everyone was Team Kenny, Team Kelly, and then the wedding episode airs, and you know, the narrative was I said no at the altar and crushed his heart and everything, and then people were rejecting me again, like you're the worst. You're like,
Oh,
you're a terrible person. Like he dodged a bullet. Like he's better off without you. All this stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, like it's not the truth. So I feel like I had to like constantly defend myself, and you know, so that was like a whole other thing too. And it's like, how am I going to defend myself to the world? Like there's no, I know, it's like I got so very caught up in, you know, trying to prove myself,
mm.
because trying to prove my worth, when I'm like, everyone who knows me know what really happened, and they know my character. Like who cares what Tom and Sally say online? Like it doesn't matter because I don't even know those people. And if they want to judge me because they don't even know me, then that's them problem, not a me problem. But when you have, you know, 400 something thousand followers, and it feels like half of that are attacking you in your DMs and comments and all of that, it does feel very
Yeah.
um,
What are your thoughts on or thoughts around? Because obviously these types of shows are global. We've already covered that your show was in all over the place. All my friends, you know, a lot of them would have watched it, and but I was just thinking about the aftercare. Do production companies or TV networks, I don't know whether they, I know that you were the guinea pig, but you were the first show. But has that evolved since your day on the show? Is there any type of support? Because how do you cope with that whilst you're on the program? I guess that your social media is going to grow in terms of your audience. You probably, I know that you were probably reasonably significant before, but it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow. So yeah, so you were vulnerable to what other people think, and probably prior to going in there, we're just normal people, so we don't have the foundations to cope with the divulge of people wanting to share their opinions.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I mean, first season, no, we didn't have support. And I mean, that's what I speak very strongly about. I do think that the more recent seasons have had access to therapy and support, whether it's filming or right after or during the show, I don't know, but I've heard, I don't know exactly, but I have heard that they do have more resources available for them, but we did not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, like I said, very like although great opportunities have come from the experience, like I said, it's still traumatic.
Yeah.
Also. So
I guess it takes, like anything, takes a while. We have to be patient, give ourselves time. But what I love about you and your journey, so most people will be familiar with you, but if they're not, I'll share links and whatnot. But you can see that your evolution, that you've got your wonderful podcast. I listened to today and yesterday. You've got your coaching business, so you're supporting women. You've gone on the show to find love, and now you're being a role model for women who want to maybe be upwardly mobile, want to find maybe purpose, want to find self-worth in their lives. So what's that journey been like? Was that fairly organic for you?
was the coaching organic for me?
Just the whole direction in terms of wanting to support other people and uplift other people.
Yeah. I mean, so I obtained like a health coaching certification 10, 11 years ago. So I had already been coaching, but the direction, after I worked with the mindset coach, right after filming, it lit something else up inside of me. And I was like, I have to teach this type of material too. Like, I want to learn about the mindset and the subconscious mind and everything. And even like business. I mean, she was a business and mindset coach. So she was helping me, with business strategy and, being confident in like pricing out your programs and things like that. So like money mindset, we did a lot of that as well. So with all that being said, like I just found myself, okay, I came from this love dating relationship show. I did a whole like program on, and it was actually called Rejection to Redemption. I have put all of my teachings, I have combined them now into the Goddess Magic program, but there are 4 modules from that rejection to redemption program inside the Goddess Magic program. And it's all about boundaries and honoring yourself and just staying authentic and true to you and attracting, as far as you like taking care of yourself. And the more that you take care of yourself, you're going to stay at a higher vibration and you're going to attract more of what you're wanting versus what you're not wanting into your life. And then obviously like sitting with okay, like, what am I wanting, but what do I keep accepting from different people, whether it's romantic relationships or not, and just really trying to like heal yourself from the inside out, understanding what your limiting beliefs are, stories are that you've created for yourself around the types of people that you want in your life, or that you don't. So it just goes a lot into like mindset shifts, money mindset, love dating, relationships, and then I created a whole section also on how people, if they found a passion through going through my course, hey, like here's how you can create your own digital course too, and maybe it's a little different. So it kind of, I mean, in my podcast, so Chase Life with Kelly, the overarching theme is mental health and mindset, but we speak on mental health, relationships, and entrepreneurship, and that's pretty much what the Goddess Magic program takes you through: is the mindset, the relationships, and entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. That's an amazing journey that you take them through. It's through the mindset, our development there, I guess our awareness and our improvement there. But I love the way that the course merges into this entrepreneurial aspect where people will get, I guess ideally women, but I guess people will get the opportunity to think about if there's an area that was actually that area, I love that area. Well, actually, that could be a business for you, and you're giving them the mindset tools that any entrepreneur is going to need, because the ride isn't like that. It's a bumpy one, which is the right journey. We don't always want the bumps, but we learn a lot from the bumps, and that will ultimately make our business the business that we want it to be. Because as you've learned, because just listening to you talk, it's like everything that you've learned kind of putting into this course from your experience on the program. Do you ever think about if I hadn't gone on to the program, I wouldn't be supporting women, I wouldn't be developing myself so I can impact people, some of these people that I never meet, they do my courses, but you're changing the directions, not just in your lives, but other people that you may never meet.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think this show definitely put me in a position to, attract new opportunities and, meet people that I never thought that I would be
Mm.
meeting before. It definitely has opened me up to so many opportunities and possibilities. And yeah, I think the way that I was able to curate different programs and even just like how I want to speak on my platform and my podcast and everything, a lot of that stems from the lessons that I learned from filming
Mm.
Love is Blind.
Yeah.
So, okay, so how can I, even like red flags that like
Mm.
you were saying earlier, it's like sometimes we just like bypass the signs and then we think something's different than it is, and when in the reality we just bypass all those signs. And so
Mm.
I like communicating that to women too, or whomever. I mean, guys do it too, but just speaking to the female audience more in particular and helping them to connect and see like, I know it's cliche to say, but it's like we really do only have one life to live, and like, why are you keeping yourself stuck? Like,
Mm.
keep going. Your failure is gonna actually propel you forward. Like, the only way you're gonna fail is if you just completely stop doing
Mm.
what you like are trying
Totally.
to do. I have failed, quote unquote, so many times. Like, I've been in and out of corporate 3 times now because my business wasn't working. I didn't think it was, making the income that I wanted it to be making, all these things. So it's like, but I keep showing up and I keep figuring out, okay, this is what's working. This is what is lighting me up. And again, I think that's why I wanted to have some type of business mentorship in the program and on my podcast,
Yeah.
because I want to help other people expand their mindset and think outside the box and be like, wow, like you really can make money doing anything. I
Mm.
mean, like teaching people how to create a course, teaching people how to use an e-commerce site. There's so many different things you
Mm.
can like actually consult people to do, and you don't even need a degree to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think most of I haven't got any stats on this. People don't quote me on this because probably be wrong, but I think there's something in this. But I think a lot of the successful entrepreneurs that are doing really, really big things, a lot of them, those guys, they might not have degrees. They've just got this burning desire
Yeah.
to do something, and they've got the courage to embrace fear, the courage to go with their intuition. I think intuition is quite big for you to go with I guess they trust their intuition and they would go for it. So yeah, we don't have to have degrees. We just have to have good people around us, good courses, good mentors, good coaches, and I guess believe in ourselves. I think if we can encompass some of those tools, I think we've got a great opportunity. I'm conscious of your time, so I can ask you a couple of questions. I just want to ask you about your podcast. I love the name. You can tell me how did you come up with the name of the podcast? But I love the kind of what it means.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to say that I came up with it, but an ex-boyfriend did.
Okay.
Yeah, so he would, yeah, it was like 10 years ago. That was the name of my I mean, it is the name of my Instagram handle, but I had started it for my health coaching
Yeah,
um, business a long time ago. And yeah, but now, like, just over time, it has gained so much more meaning. I mean, chase life with Kelly. It's like, how are you going to chase life today? How are you going to show up
mm,
differently than you did yesterday? How are you going to like create
I love
impact? How are
that.
you going to like love on yourself today? Like, it's constantly like, let's do this. Like, let's get life and let's go.
Mm, great motto. That's a great motto, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing to kind of think about that. How am I going to chase life today? What's going on today, Paul? How are you going to chase your life? What are you going to do? Yeah. So when I came across that, fantastic. So people can access that. So on all the main, we'll put that on the show notes, but that's on all the main directories.
Yeah, yeah. So as far as the podcast goes, anywhere you stream a podcast, you
Yeah.
can listen to it. I also have a YouTube channel that you can watch
Mm.
the episodes. And then obviously, like, I'm mostly hanging out on Instagram. It's at Chase Life with
Mm.
Kelly. And then on TikTok, it is at I am Kelly Chase. So
Okay,
that's
lovely. I'll grab all that stuff and we'll get those on the show notes. And just in terms of your courses, so if people want to find out about your courses, is that on your website? Is that
it
easy for them
is.
to access?
Yep. And like I said, I've merged like all my little courses into the Goddess Magic. So it's just the one course and they
Okay.
can go through the whole thing. It's like
Mm,
12 to 15 modules. So it'll take them a while to go through it, but it's great binge-worthy content. And of course, you're going to get the transformation that you're looking for. But yeah, it's in the link in my bio on Instagram and TikTok, as well as on my website as well. So they
okay.
can find it.
Okay. Okay. Lovely. So we'll grab everything, go in the show notes. And would you do another reality show again, a different type of reality show, or just TV?
Yes, I would. Yeah, as long as there's not a wedding at the end, I would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We have to sign that bit off. Make sure that's signed in the small print. You never know, that could happen again. There might be different
I know.
strands of
It's
these
true.
things that come around. Netflix, for Netflix could be sat down in a room, actually drafting something now or working on something. So you kind of never know. So hopefully, if that does happen again, hopefully we can have another conversation. And
Yeah.
so we have a recurring question on the podcast, which is if you could invite three inspirational people for dinner, they can be alive or they can be past. Who would you invite?
Okay, three
Yeah,
people.
three.
Okay. Um, the first three people that come to mind is Oprah.
Yeah,
I would love to have her.
yeah,
I think just because I've been watching her show since I was little, like
yeah,
or before. I watched her show when I was little with my mom, and I would say also, um, Jared Leto.
yeah.
I think he's a very fascinating person. I don't know all the things about him, but that's why I would want to sit with him to see what's going on in his brain. He's very fascinating. And then I think third person, I think maybe like my grandma.
Okay.
I feel like I didn't get close enough to my
Yeah.
grandparents enough. So I feel like that would be a nice.
Okay. Okay. Amazing. Amazing. Love talking to you. And if I could sneak in one question, if there's any advice you've got for any, I don't know, like particularly women that you want to share any, I don't know, word of inspiration, particularly if they're going through a difficult time or they're looking to maybe take their life in a direction, maybe they've got some fear around that. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, absolutely. It is cliche to say, and it's harder than it sounds. It is harder to do, but stay true to yourself.
Okay.
And how to do that, my best advice is to create a really good self-care plan so that you're just pouring into yourself every day. Whether it's exercising, moving your body in some capacity, meditation, prayer, reading personal development books, cleansing out and like detoxing spaces in your like physical spaces in your home. Also on social media, if you're following anyone who makes you feel uh like you're not good enough, then whether you unfollow them or not, that's up to you, but mute their account so you
Mhm.
don't see their stuff. Or unfollow them. And because you don't need to be, a lot of us get into this, we start feeling unworthy because our subconscious mind is consuming a lot of information that we're just visually seeing, and it may not even be a conscious thing. It's our subconscious is like, oh, let's say, it's a celebrity and they're dressed a certain way, and it's our subconscious mind is thinking, oh, well, maybe I should look like that in order
Mm.
to be more worthy and more
Yeah.
valued, right? So it's like if there's anything online that is making you feel just insecure about yourself, then just let it go. Just unfollow, mute the account, just detox yourself and just align yourself with people who are lifting you up, lifting others up. Um, yeah, I mean, you really have to hone in on yourself and what makes you feel good. If something doesn't make you feel good, you got to put a boundary around
Mm. Love that advice. Amazing advice. You're amazing. Love your
it.
journey. Excited to hear about what you do in the future because that's going to be amazing as well. So thank you very much for your time, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do subscribe. We're really keen to grow the channel, and your subscription will help with that. And if you know anybody that is looking to really grow their mindset and really take their life and opportunities to the next level, please do share this episode and do subscribe to Kelly's content. And your feedback is most welcome. So we're keen to hear about the things you like and equally the things you don't like. So you can find me at paul@myperfectfailure.com, or you can find me via the feedback page on the website. So take care for now. Bye.
Thanks for listening to My Perfect Failure podcast. Be sure to visit www.myperfectfailure.com to join the conversation. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Google Play. Look out for our next episode.